everybody. This is Matt Orozco from Macabre Daily here, and I am super excited to be speaking with Louis Santer today, who is one of the stars of the upcoming Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2, the sequel to Blood and Honey that we got back in 2023. And just for everyone's information, we will be getting a special Fathom Events release of Blood and Honey 2. So make sure to go to the theater on March 26th, 27th, or the 28th to see it in the big screen with other people, because everybody knows that seeing a movie with other people means you enjoy it a lot more. Isn't that right, Louis?
That is completely right, especially a horror film as well.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's I've talked to a lot of people who have had a totally different experience watching a movie just by watching with others in the theater than they have watching it at home. So I feel like
Yeah,
this is one of those films.
definitely, yeah.
Well, Louis, I know we don't have a ton of time, but I want to get right into things. Now, you'll be
hmm
playing Tigger in this upcoming sequel, and I'm curious to know a little bit more about this role since we didn't have the character represented in the first film.
Yeah, so about Tigger. So Tigger, I keep kind of describing him as like he's like the misfit, like the outcast of the group in a way. Like for like Pooh and Piglet and Owl are like they are crazy, they're all crazy, but they're sort of, dare I say, more civilized and they've got more sort of reason behind their killing and what they do. Um and it's sort of they act more from a place of like pain and revenge and sort of want justice for themselves. But for like Tigger, he's sort of kept away from the group, he's sort of kept down, he's sort of caged away because he's almost like too crazy for them, and that's sort of the story of Tigger. Like even in the cartoon, he is the one that's just too much even for the other characters. And they sort of when they kill, they're sort of doing it just to sort of they just want to kill the people straight away and like rip through them. Where for like Tigger, he's the most vicious one of them all. Like he likes to torment his victims and sort of play with them and really savor like every moment when he is killing. So that's what makes him different. He's just the complete nutter of the group.
Yeah, so he's like the psychopath to everyone else's sociopath, and that he's
Yeah,
just a little bit
exactly.
crazier than the norm.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's actually a good way of describing it. Yeah, exactly
well, I'm
that.
not a psychiatrist, so don't take this is not medical advice, but I feel
Yeah,
like that's a pretty good
yeah,
diagnosis. Um, well, it's glad to hear. I mean, I'm glad to hear that we'll be getting another character entering the fray, and especially your
yeah,
description of it just sounds so exciting because
mhm,
everybody loves a loose cannon.
yeah.
And I was curious to know, what were your thoughts on the first film, and what excited you most about being asked to join the sequel?
So straight away, when I had the character sent to me, I knew I didn't watch the first film, but I knew about it. Like, I knew obviously it went viral over like obviously Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. So I knew about it straight away. So when I had it sent to me, I was instantly interested, and I was like, yeah, I know about this universe. I'm really, really into this. And then I didn't actually watch the film until I got the character. So obviously went through the whole process of like auditioning. And then once I got the character, then I had about a month to prep. So I thought, right, let's watch the first film. So I watched it quite a few times. And just to sort of get used to that universe. But then by this time, I already had the script. So I was sort of, subconsciously comparing the first film to the second film. And it's such a different film. It's such a, like, the first one's great. And it's sort of, I've described it as like it sort of builds the foundation for the second one. Like you need the first one there to kind of set up this universe. And now the second one is where now we can have some fun. It's like now we can have some more characters. The kill count can just go crazy. So that's what it is. It's kind of that. It's there. It needs to be there to sort of set up this masterpiece that we created.
That makes sense. I mean, your first film is
Yeah,
kind of your world building, right? And then your second film,
yeah,
your sequels are always supposed to double down on everything the first film did, but do it like twice as big, twice as bloody, twice
exactly,
as brash.
exactly. And it is like that. The kill count. I mean, like the first one's more like singular kills. Like it sort of focuses on like a victim at a time. Where this second one, not to give too much away, but it is just complete, just a bloodbath the whole way throughout, and it's just people dying left, right, and center. And that's what makes it different from the first one.
No, I'm getting excited already just talking about it, and I haven't even
Yeah.
seen the movie. So if that's any testament to how exciting this is going to be, then if nothing else, more blood, more bodies is always a good reason to show up.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Um,
Yeah,
Now, in regards to, you mentioned a little bit about what fans can expect of the first one, more blood, more violence. Is there going to be
yeah,
more world building and lore building around these new characters we're bringing into
yeah,
the sequel?
definitely. Yeah, I think definitely. Sort of, I think the film sort of focuses more on sort of Pooh's sort of background and the character's background. There's a lot more focus on that. There's a lot more focus on Christopher Robin's background. So already it's building their world, and then as the film goes on as well, it's even setting up more things to come. And then, like for example, on the 22nd of March, there's going to be a massive announcement for a new film that's actually coming out in this universe, and it's on Instagram now. They sort of announced that 22nd of March, a big announcement, and this film sort of starts doing that. It starts setting up that universe that these guys have created.
Well, never thought we'd see the Dark Pooh universe in 2024, but here we
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
Well, it's good to know that there's going to be some additional world building going on because I think that
Yeah.
this particular format has a lot of evergreen qualities to it. You can continue building on top of it, incorporating more parts of the child's cartoon, but also taking it its own direction. On that note of like children's characters, what other children's characters would you think would make good fodder for a horror film?
Oh wow, that's a really good question. That's a really good question. I know some people have sort of said online about Teletubbies, stuff like that would be really good. I think like the Hoover, that would be really good. What's something I loved? What's something like I think I would love to see something like SpongeBob. I think I was a massive SpongeBob fan, and like like an aquatic sort of whether they come out of the sea maybe, and wreak havoc on like people on land, or whether it does stay underwater. I've generally just thought that in my head, by the way. I've not even thought of this yet. It's just come to me. I think that's actually a really good idea. But like you could make him really like disgusting, like Squidward being the horrible squid, and like Patrick Star maybe eating people, and you could have like Mr. Crab's claws taking heads off and thing. And it's like the people in land against the creatures in the sea.
I'm already getting in my head those like AI copies of like what a human character, like what a real life version of these cartoon
Yeah,
characters would look like. It would almost be that kind of thing.
yeah. I saw one of that
So
the other day for The Simpsons, and it was horrible. It was
yeah,
horrifying to look at. It was like Homer Simpson as a real human. I was like, oh, it's disgusting.
he doesn't look like a real person. He looks like a bug that was mixed with a person. So it's just,
Yeah,
maybe we should keep them to the horror realm so that way we can be righteously terrified of them rather than
yeah.
trying to use them as children's characters anymore. But I know we're at about our time. So I just want to see, is there anything else, Lewis, that you're working on outside of this that you want to plug or promote at this time?
Working on. I think it's just there's other little bits I'm doing, but I think at the moment I'm so focused on this character, and I'm allowed to say as well that I can confirm he is coming back. So Tigger will be back for future movies, and obviously, like I said, there's a massive announcement on 22nd of March. Will blow fans' minds away, and it really will. So that's what I'm kind of focused on right now, just this kind of universe, and I just love it. It's like my dream role. So this is kind of all my attention going into this right now. So all I say is, if people are fans of this universe, they should be very excited for the future.
Well, it sounds like we've got a lot to look forward to. And I want to say thank you very much, Lewis, for taking the time to share a little bit about your experience working on the film. And as a reminder, everybody, please go and check out the film in theaters on March 26th, 27th, and 28th. And then
Yeah,
stay tuned on Instagram and social channels on the 22nd. It sounds like we're going to get some pretty enticing news.
yeah.
So if you're a fan of the films, you got a lot to look forward to. Lewis, we thank you so much. We hope the film's a
Thank you.
huge success, and look forward to seeing you for the next round.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah. Just let me know. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Lewis. All right. Well, hello, everybody. This is Matt Orozco here with Macabre Daily, and I am so excited to be joined by Marcus Massey, who is starring as Owl in the upcoming Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2. Marcus, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us.
Thank you very much, Matt. As soon as we say Macabre Daily in this country. As soon as it came up, I said, "I'll be there."
Ah,
Yes,
and you know what?
yes.
I'm a sucker for a good pun, so if you
Oh,
if you got
right.
any more,
Yes,
I
yeah.
think they're a hoot. So
Fantastic. Great, great. Well, yeah, well, Bill, yes, yes. Well, hopefully I'm a know-it owl, so I will be able to uh, uh, I will give you everything you need. Let's crack in.
let's crack in. So, first and foremost, what really excited you, Marcus, about taking on this role in particular? I know you have a history in the genre, so curious to know
Mm.
kind of what brought you to, what excited you about this particular opportunity?
Well, I just as soon as Rhys asked me to be Al, I mean, of course, he knows me very well from a number of previous films, as you mentioned. I mean, obviously, Al is an iconic character, and as soon as I got the script, it. I mean, how can you not want to play Al? I mean, the reality is that Pooh is, and this is giving nothing away, Pooh is a bear of little brain. That
Right.
being the case, he needs guidance, everything he does. And Owl is, of course, the irony, of course, is in the original books, Owl was he mean, he claimed he knew a lot about everything, but actually he talked a load of rubbish, and that was the joke. In this, of course, I mean, he is the planner. He is moving the pieces around the chessboard. He explains in my favorite scene what and why this campaign of terror, which is not giving anything away. I mean, after all, it is a slasher film,
Right.
has to happen. Okay, right? And I mean, he's explaining to Pooh, but of course, he's also explaining to the audience. And this film has got several strands of story. So it's not just a single note of Christopher Robin said he would care for them, said he loved them, said he was going to be with them forever and make sure that they will be fine, and then disappeared and left them to fend for themselves, and they had to go feral to survive. There is that, because that's already established as a big issue. And that issue doesn't change. How can that change? That's the basis of the whole thing. But there are several other things that come to light, which then are shocking for the audience, and yeah, so there's going to be a lot of excitement there.
That's, I mean, every person I've spoken with so far about the film has made me even more excited than the last person. So you're continuing that trend, but giving us a lot of morsels to hang on to. And you know, when you think about, you know, it's funny you kind of mentioned that the role that Al plays, because when we spoke to Lewis, he kind of talked about how Tigger is this kind of complete psychopath, you know, and how everyone seems to have kind of a role. So it's almost like this kind of crew of killers that have been established. Is that kind of the sense that we're getting here? Is that each killer is going to play its distinct role in this murderous exercise?
That is very much that yeah. Each one brings in what they can bring to the table. Absolutely, yes. I mean, Tigger is, after all, a tiger, and you just wait and see what he gets up to. I mean, of course, he's got claws, yeah, and teeth, and blah blah blah. Obviously, he can also go around and pick things up. But you can just imagine what a tiger does, just even normally. So yes, and Lewis is such a lovely guy as well.
Yeah, it does. I can't
hilarious.
imagine the person that I spoke to portraying this like absolute maniac that he described. So, you know, again, I imagine if my cat had opposable thumbs, he'd probably try and kill me. So I suspect that's kind of like what Tigger is going to be all about. Now, did you draw on any inspirations in particular to try and characterize Al for the film?
I think everybody to one extent or another has had promises made to them, and has been betrayed. Everybody has been through pain, and 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 so I was able to draw from that, and then of course you use your imagination to put that into this bird. I mean, the reason he looks like this is not because he's had a warm, easy life. I mean,
Battle scars.
he's had pain and struggle throughout. So you have to bring that into it, and that's what I was doing. I mean, you put yourself into that position, and that he is in, and especially because he then has to, he almost has to be the general of the troops, planning everything, because he is, of course, the one with the brain. He's the wise one, and so you've got to you've just got to condense that, find the essence, and then what's the word? It's inject that essence into everything that you have to do in the situation. There are a lot of surprises in this. obviously it's not giving any away that there is a lot of blood and guts, a lot more than the first film, but
So we've heard.
there's fantastic several threads of story, but there's also memorable moments, several memorable moments that the audience can take away, which will burn into their minds, and then they'll go, oh, and that bit, oh, and that, and everybody will have a different, because there's several, so everybody will have a different one. And
Great, there's
yes,
something for everyone, right? You know, it's I think that there's I've always said this before, that most genre fans are willing to watch a 90-minute movie as long as it has at least 15 to 10 minutes of greatness. And so I think if you have multiples of those moments within the story, you know, I think not only are you hedging the bet that you're going to delight more people at a greater scale, but also you have far more of those memories to embed and leave people with. And with that, I have one last question for you, Marcus, which is, if you were to kind of take the same treatment that's being done with Winnie the Pooh to another beloved childhood character, who do you think would make a really good slasher or monster from the childhood cartoon days?
Oh, right. Yes, that's a fantastic question. And I've been thinking about this, and this is what I would like to do. I would like to be a wolf in Red Riding Hood, because if it's a talking wolf, then he's going to be more than just talking and putting on clothes. He's going to have all sorts of other tricks up his sleeve. Right? I mean,
Yeah,
after all, he's a magical wolf. I
it's a
mean,
werewolf,
yes.
basically.
And yes, but then of course have all sorts of other sort of things that he can do, you know, special powers, because of course he's magical, or there's a sort of magical element to him. And took, so yeah, there will be, I'm sure that there will be an element of morphing, because obviously, you know, Red Riding would immediately recognize that the wolf is not her grandmother, so there will be an element of morphing. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's good enough, which he gets away with by doing this, but he will have all sorts of other powers which are not perfect, but he can get away with, which he will have to do. And of course, he will have an agenda. And I'd love to do that. Come on, who's going to put the
It
money
sounds
up?
like, yeah, you've got the pitch for Rhys. So I mean, I feel like you've got the line into the guy who's already in that mindset. So, you know, if we get a live action Red Riding Hood, I'm going to be keeping my eye out for your name on the log line, so we can see you bring this character to life. But Marcus, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today.
Oh,
Congratulations on the film. And for everyone that's interested, you know, please make an effort to go out to your theaters. This is being put on by Fathom Events. Make sure to go out and see it on March 26th, 27th, or the 28th, maybe multiple times if you choose. And again, thank you and congratulations to you, Marcus, and the rest of the team.
oh, thank you very much. It was nice to meet you.
Thank you, Marcus. Well, hello, everybody. This is Matthew Orozco from Macabre Daily here, and I am so excited to be joined by another cast member of Winnie the Pooh 2, Blood and Honey. We have Nicola Wright with us today. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us, Nicola.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Really excited to talk to you.
Well, we're excited to hear from you, and I know we don't have heaps of time, so
Nope.
we'll try and make the most of it. Now, for this role as Daphne Ramen, can you tell me a little bit more about what interested you about this particular role, and how you came to get involved with the film?
I suppose two things. I was involved in the film, or I became involved in the film, because I've worked with Scott and Rhys many times over the years, especially with Scott, and we're really good friends outside of work as well. And we had talked in the past about, whether or not there would be a project in the future where we could play a mother and son, because we kind of have a bit of that relationship. I'm quite motherly towards him in real life. And then Winnie came up, and they needed, once Scott agreed to play Christopher Robin, it was like, well, here we go. There's the opportunity to do it. Plus, of course, it was Winnie the Pooh too. Who didn't want to be involved in Winnie the Pooh? So, yeah,
It's
double
exciting.
whammy for me. Yeah,
You get to carry on that motherly role that you've had kind of assumed.
absolutely. On screen.
Yeah, on screen, and then you get to bring it back to the childhood with Winnie the Pooh. So it almost is kind of this early stage of life theme I'm sensing
Yeah.
here. But
Yeah.
now, as far as the first film goes, I'm curious to know what your thoughts were, and what really excites you about the opportunity with the sequel.
So with the first film, I've got to be honest, I haven't seen it. However, I know lots about it because of the fact that I'm friends with, a couple of people who are in the cast, plus of course with Rhys and Scott. So when it blew up, we were all as surprised as any that this particular one of the, they've done so many films, was the one that just went viral. And then when it did, obviously it's very exciting. And so with this second one, I guess what is not only exciting but attractive to anybody involved is the budget is significantly higher. It's still a low budget. However, what they've done with that budget is unbelievable. I mean, it looks like it's got millions spent on it. It's incredible. And that's thanks to, Rhys's vision, Vince Knight, the DOP who works with Rhys and Scott a lot, is unbelievable. And then you've got so many people just, going over and above. It really is, I think, going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, even the trailer has been feels like such a bigger production, and they say all the best sequels are just bigger versions of the previous film. So I feel like it's definitely hitting those marks.
Yeah, yeah. I think everybody's in for a big, good surprise.
Well, on that note of kind of what things to expect, you said it's going to be bigger. You said there's going to be a lot more investment in the production side. What about the story as far as the development of the Christopher Robin character and obviously the supporting family around him now? But also we know there's going to be additional characters. So what can we expect as far as the continued character development for the folks?
Well, as obviously it's no spoiler for you to know the additional characters are now Tigger and Al, who have a lot of screen time. As far as the story development, it's got I don't know what I'm allowed to say. It's got a very clever little twist in relation to why the first film was made. That's all I'm going to say. So this kind of stands alone with, yes, it's a year on from when the film happened, but it's not trying to pretend that, for example, Scott has been, his part as Christopher Robin is the same Christopher Robin. It's not like it's recast. I can't really say too much more because I feel like I'm giving away quite a clever little twist to the plot.
Don't want to get you in any trouble, Nicola. So we won't press you too much there, but it does sound like an exciting continuation for fans that appreciated the first film, but also a good jumping off point for those that maybe hadn't seen it or didn't remember a lot about it. There's always the possibility.
You definitely don't need to have seen the first one at all. This stands alone. I mean, I hadn't seen the first one. I mean, as I said, I know a lot about it, but this one is totally its own thing. And there are certainly references to the first one and what happened, but it's not quite as straightforward as that.
Well, that's the argument I'm going to be using to convince my wife to go see it with me, is that you don't have to have seen the first one to get to enjoy the second one.
No.
And
No.
I wanted to ask you more personally, what was one of the most rewarding, but also one of the most challenging parts of the filmmaking process?
Definitely the most rewarding was the fact that I was acting with Scott, to be honest. I mean, he's very, very talented actor. It was an easy relationship. So that was definitely the reward. I think the most challenging, it's fine. But again, without giving too much away, there are some prosthetics involved for me, and it's not really that big a deal, but I did have to go and have one of those casts done where you're completely covered in goo and let it set, which I'd never had done before, so I was well up for it. But for some people, they might find it a little bit, I don't know, claustrophobic. And then on the day when you're having that done, can't really see anything. You sit in the makeup chair for it doesn't bother me, but as I said, nothing was really that challenging. But if you're pushing me for what's the most challenging, it would be the physicality of that and doing night shoots. They're always quite difficult to adjust to at the beginning of a shoot.
Yeah, I've heard
So I've
infamously
done that.
that even if special effects artists don't like getting under the makeup because of how much prosthetics can, it's just the materials can kind of tear at your skin a little bit, and it's not
Yeah,
always the
getting
most
it off's a
comfortable.
bit of an right nightmare. Yeah.
Well, don't
But
want to mess up a good
that's for the
skincare
job.
routine, right?
Absolutely not. That's podcast number 2.
Well, my last question for you, Nicola, is going to be, when you think about other beloved children's characters, obviously we're seeing kind of the Steamboat Willie and Mickey Mouse making their turn into horror, and obviously the expansion of like the dark Winnie the Pooh universe we're seeing now. Are there any other children's characters you think would make great fodder for horror films?
Well, they are doing the one that would be my favorite, and this isn't a spoiler because it has been announced they're doing Peter Pan. And certainly growing up, Peter Pan was literally my favorite story. I used to get my dad to read it to me on a loop. And then when I was about 19, I played Wendy on tour and theatre
Oh, wow.
production for about 6 to 9 months. And those, I was about 17 or 18. And the friends that I made in that, on that, are still, one of them still like my best friend today. So Peter Pan holds a lot dear, and yet I know it can be really dark. It is quite a dark story. So if they hadn't have even chosen that one yet, I would say Peter Pan, and I think it's going to be an amazing film.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I mean, a pirate that wants to kill kids, right? There's nothing more terrifying
Yeah,
than that, right?
and a boy who doesn't want to grow up, and there's sews his shadow on, and listens at people's houses to their stories while. Yeah, there's a lot
Oh,
that
just gave
you
me the
can
creeps.
dig deep on. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Nicola, this is
Lands in Wendy's room, just lets himself in through the window.
he's like part vampire, that Peter Pan, like the Salem's Lot
Yeah,
scene,
he
where
is
just
a
kind of
bit of
shows
way.
up and knocking. And well, Nicola, this has been a wonderful conversation, and I just want to remind everybody that Winnie the Pooh 2 Blood and Honey, or Winnie the Pooh 2, yeah, Winnie the Pooh 2 Blood and Honey, will be released
2.
in theaters. 2 will be released in theaters March 26th, 27th, and 28th through Fathom Events. So please make sure to get out to your cinema and go see it. We know that collectively
Please
the
do.
experience, yes, please do, because it means we get more horror movies like this. It also
Yeah.
means that you get to more enjoyment out of it, because we always enjoy things collectively than we do individually. So thank you again, Nicola, for the time. We wish you the best of luck on not just this production, but also the next ones.
Thank you. My pleasure. Lovely talking to you.
Bye. All right. Well, hello, everybody. This is Matt Orozco here from Macabre Daily, and I am so excited to be joined by two of the folks behind Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, which is going to be hitting theaters via Fathom Events later this month, March 26th, 27th, and 28th. But we have with us Rhys Frake-Waterfield as well as Scott Chambers. Welcome to you both. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh, thanks so much for speaking.
Oh, thanks so much.
It's my pleasure, I guarantee. So I know we don't have heaps of time together, so I'm going to make the questions quick. So the first one is, how quickly after the first film did you both get together and start thinking about the next one?
So as soon as we got told that it was going to cinemas, basically, the execs were like, right, start preparing for number 2. No, just start thinking about what you want to do, obviously, because we didn't have much budget on the first film, so it was already set in stone to basically be a commercial success. So we argued and we were like, right, with the number 2 compared to number 1, we need to go up significantly in budget. We need to make this we need to enhance everything in terms of the performances, the gore, the horror, the creatures. We need to introduce more friends. We need to go bigger and better. And after a while, they were in agreement with us. So then we went straight into kind of like thinking about what direction to take the story from then onwards.
Yeah, and I'm curious to know, as far as the story goes, how did you approach it this time around?
So in the first one, I didn't have an appreciation really at the time of what sort of scale or scope it was going to go to. Didn't know if it was going to be theatrical, I thought it was going to be VOD. And it was wrote in under a week from a blank piece of paper to a final script. So obviously that comes with limitations. And there's only so much you can do with your resources at the time. with the sequel, because I knew there was a significantly larger budget, and I knew the sort of scale and scope it was going to, my first step was to decide what, I needed to start collaborating with someone on this. And I got hold of a writer called Matthew Leslie. He wrote Summer of '84, and I loved Summer of '84. So I kind of chatted to him for a while, and I was like, do you want to come on board with this? And we'll start working on it. He was in agreement, and for about 4 months together, me and him were just like bouncing ideas together and kind of fleshing out the story. We started off, or I started off actually doing a bunch of polls on Instagram. Fans of the first film, I was like, okay, what do you guys want in the sequel compared to the first? I wanted to have an audience-led approach rather than, like a bunch of execs behind the scenes trying to guess what the audience want. I thought just ask them. Right. So we made a big list, kind of decided from that list, because obviously you can't introduce everything because it would just be a terrible story. Decided what can we introduce here, what elements are like must-haves, and then me and Matt kind of have built out this story, implementing all of those parts of it to make something which we're really proud of. So some of the big changes is Christopher Robin is now undoubtedly the lead protagonist of this, compared to the first film. The creatures have all been redesigned, changed. We've made sure to keep it to a tight 90-minute film. I didn't want to have it go to 2 or 3 hours with loads of just fat in there.
Thank you.
Yeah. And there's a lot more diving into the backstory and the lore of the creatures in this movie. So you find out how they came to be, where they came from. And there's lots of plot twists and turns and reveals, Easter eggs in there for the upcoming films. And there's a lot of crazy deaths and massacres in this thing. That was something I wanted to make sure we didn't kind of take away from. Ultimately, it's a horror movie. You have to have these crazy deaths in there and try and come up with really inventive ways, which we have done.
I love to hear that. I'm already getting excited, and it's not even here yet. Now, Scott, over to you. What was it like stepping into the role of Christopher Robin, taking the place of Nicola from the first film?
Yeah, so it was really intimidating. I'm not gonna lie. I've been acting for a little while, and every project I've ever stepped into, it's been there's no no attachment to it. People would just go into it, they watch it, except for a recent film called Dr. Jekyll, because it's also it's a Hammer film and all that kind of stuff. So that had it a little bit, but not like this. This obviously, with the first film, I firsthand experienced it as a producer working with Rhys, with him getting death threats and disgusting comments sent to him, and these people on the internet just being absolutely awful. So I was really nervous, honestly stepping into it, genuinely as an actor, because I really have worked really hard on my acting and all that over the years, and I was worried about just stepping into something and people just ripping me apart because they just want to be nasty, which I'm aware is probably still going to happen. But so I think I was intimidated for that. But Rhys said to me, do you want to do Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey too? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, go on then, because
Simple choice.
Because at the end of the day, yeah, it's weird, when are you going to be it's such a rare chance to kind of get to play a character in this kind of level of weirdness, I guess. And my main draw was Rhys. He had £20,000 on the first film. On the first film, we also made 46 films that year, feature films.
Wow.
And he works incredibly hard. I know it. And when he was he's obviously been there with my acting career since I was 17. Rhys came from working in data analyst stuff. I don't know what it is, but he did his smart stuff. Yeah, he did his smart stuff, and I've always been the creative, making my films and acting and stuff. And he's always been there, and he was like, I'd really like you to play Christopher Robin. And I was like, you know what, I really believe in you. And we have this dynamic now. It's I can just look at him and we cut the rubbish, and it's is it good? Is it what you want? And it's just quick. Do you know what I mean? Because I know as a producer, we've got to get going. I don't want to hold the production up, but also I have trust in him that he will not let me be, hopefully, bad. And I don't feel let down. So, yeah.
It's interesting. Nicola said something similar yesterday. There's kind of this family sentiment around everyone working together and how everyone knows each other from the various walks of the entertainment industry. So I think that, just in the interviews we've been able to do with you, with the cast and the crew so far, it's been quite obvious that everyone had a great time, not just making the film, but also working
Yeah.
with each other. And I'm sure that'll show up on screen. As far as the process, what were some of the most challenging, rewarding things for each of you?
Oh my God. Probably, I would say, like, we going into this, again, a reason I took on the acting job is because we had a better budget. So I kind of hoped, you'd be hiring people to come in and take control of their departments. Because usually me and Rhys very much micromanage everything. Like Rhys, for example, was making the props for Winnie the Pooh one. That 100 Acre Wood sign, rest in peace, Eel. Rhys made all this in the kitchen. So, but yeah, going into the sequel, kind of, I feel like we got massively let down 3 days before production begun. The set designer / costume designer pulled out, and we soon realized he had done no work really at all. And instead of doing any of my acting prep, I'm sat there trying to order probably about 60, 80 rave outfits, and they're all at this rave, they're all in this kind of like sexy outfit. So I was trying to understand women's body types, because it's not like with a guy, you go, what are you, medium or large? It's like there's other things to consider. So
Right.
I was trying to get my head around that. I was trying to order props for like the hospital. It was mad. So I feel like that was probably the biggest challenge for me. And then Rhys, you probably have a load.
So you know what? Like, it sounds a bit generic, but the whole thing is like just it's a very, very ambitious script. Like, we've tried to not play it safe. We always get, when we've tried to pitch ideas before and such, people always say, on these budgets, like on budgets more than what we had, don't go to loads of locations, don't do loads of things, as in keep it contained and just. But we didn't do that with this. Even on the budget we had, we really tried to like push the boundaries as much as we can. The consequences of doing that is it is harder, like on the day, to actually achieve. The scale and the scope was big in this film. We got feedback from Josh Stolberg, who's like the writer of Saw X, for it, and he loved this. He loved the treatment. He was like, he thinks it's really good. But he was like, I don't know how the hell you guys are going to pull this off. Like
Sounds like a challenge.
he knew what the budget was. He goes, I don't think this can happen. And Matt thought the same as well. Like the co-writer, he goes, don't know how you guys can do this. And then the trailer came out, and we got nice messages from Josh, and he was like, you done it. he was like, you actually did it. And Matt as well. Matt was like really surprised on what we were able to achieve with the budget. But yeah, the movie, there's huge set pieces. There's like rave scenes where people are getting massacred. There's caravans being all completely burnt down. There's so many like just death scenes, and like Al's got his own lair, and all of like the fact I'm working with 4 monsters instead of 1 monster.
Right.
All of these aspects make it hard. But the only real reason this has actually turned out as well as it has is because all of the people in the production, from all of the actors and like the DOPs and the prosthetics people, they all stepped up. Like I know as a director, I basically pushed the envelope a lot. I was like pushing people way beyond what our budgetary and resource means should be with this project, but everyone stepped up. No one was like kicking off and just flat out refusing to do it, which you can have on films, and then you're just stuffed. Everyone stepped up, everyone did it. And then as a result of this, in the screening we had yesterday, everyone was giving us such good comments and saying they're so surprised with how this has turned out and how much of a step up it is relative to the first film. And that's ultimately, just a testament to like everyone actually going for it as much as they have.
Well, I hope you all get a chance to sneak into the theaters on the 26th or the 27th, the 28th, and check it in with the crowd that's, not there for the test, right? That they're kind of in the wild, because I'm sure the most rewarding part is going to be seeing people's reactions. So I know we got to let you go for now, but Rhys and Scott, I want to thank you both so much for the time and the conversation today. And just a reminder for everybody watching the interview, please go out to your theaters, support the film on the 26th, 27th, the 28th. It's a limited run in theaters. So get your tickets, bring your friends, have a good time, do all the things. So thank you again, Scott and Rhys, and best of luck on the release.
Oh,
thanks so much,
thank you.
Matt. Thank you.
Take care, guys.
You too.
See you.